Hello Followers, and yes, it's that time again. Another Minecraft update has been released. This update is Minecraft 1.7.2, and in today's video we are going to be going through all the features of 1.7. And before we get right into that though, I do want to make very clear that this is going to be kind of a quick overview of everything. I'm not going to be doing any sort of tutorial or anything like that on the things because there's a lot to get through, so I've just got to kind of speed through it all really quick, just give you a basic idea of what's going to be going on, and then you can kind of explore for yourself. So as you can see, we are actually here on the main menu screen, and the reason for that is the first things that we're going to be going through are a couple of the kind of the internal mechanics. So the first thing to go through is the improved server list. So if you go onto multiplayer, you will see that you have a bunch of different servers. I've got Vanilla Go-Get here, Overcast Network, and Hypixel. If you press F5, it will attempt to refresh the server screen. The message of the day, which is any of these messages below what you give the name, it can now have multiple lines. Servers can now have icons, as you can see there, which is a 64 by 64, and you can put that in your server properties. And you can also hover over the player count to see who is online. Now obviously there's no one on Vanilla Go-Get at the moment, and it will not list obviously thousands of players because there's not a lot of room. That's designed for smaller servers. Now on top of that, there is also improved resource packs. They can now be offered on a server, and the maximum size is 50 megabytes now. So before, a server could recommend a texture pack. Now they can recommend resource packs. That was missing in 1.6. That has now been added. Next up is they rewrote the networking code. It uses Netty now. There's a bunch of stuff basically behind the scenes. I'm not going to get too much into that as to what that does, but the network code has been rewritten. On top of that, login is now done using a different login system than it did before, and that's now archived, and you can actually kind of check out different formats as well. That's also available. So for example, you could have it output to a HTML web page or a database, all of that kind of thing. There's also been some improvements to Minecraft Realms. If you are part of that, you will have seen that it started to prepare in buying support internally and started offering an option to download the world map. So there has also been improved MBT format, so list tags no longer need to be named, and there are no longer crashes when given the wrong type, whether that's an integer or a short. So that's pretty much everything as regards sort of internal changes for the moment. There has been some other ones which we will get into a little later, but for right now let's actually take a look at the sort of reorganized menu screen, because that's one thing that has been changed. So if you go into options, you will see that this looks completely different. We have obviously our field of view and the difficulty. We have musics and sounds. Before, this was just two sliders, music and game sound. We'll get into that in a minute. The super secret settings button, which we're going to come back to a little later. Video settings has been slightly tweaked. Controls has been tweaked. Language hasn't. Multiplayer settings hasn't. Resource packs have. And snooper settings haven't. So let's take a look at music and sounds. So music and sounds now have different sliders depending on different types of sounds. As you can see, I have mine set up like so you can turn weather off if you want, or hostile creatures up or down, friendly creatures up or down, blocks off, whatever it happens to be. And there is also this master volume which just controls how loud everything is. So now all the sounds are twice as loud as they used to be, but if you lower the master volume, then you can just kind of figure it out from there. So on top of that, we'll go back to the super secret settings. Video settings, it has these two new features here, mip-map levels and anisotropic filtering. Mip-map levels just blurs it far away, and anisotropic filtering kind of sharpens the blocks. That's just some graphical tweaks. You will also see that the frame rate thing has been replaced. Now you can actually specify a frame rate using this slider. I just leave it to unlimited because I think that's what everybody would do. And also you can actually have more specific render distance now. So instead of it being tiny, short, normal or far, you can actually specify the number of chunks that you want rendered. So that is that. Controls has been rewrote, so now you will see that we've got the invert mouse, sensitivity and touchscreen up there, and you can see that we have this very nice window here which we can choose pretty much everything. As you can see, strafing, sneaking, multiplayer commands. Now, nothing's really changed except for the fact that now if you hold down the left control button on your keyboard, you will sprint when you touch any of the WASD keys, which is a pretty handy feature, I have to say. On top of that, that is pretty much the menu rewritten stuff. We'll get back to the super secret settings. I think that is basically everything that we need to do, so let's hop into the actual world. Okay guys, so here we are in the 1.7 update world, and the first thing that we're going to talk about is the improved internal chat mechanics, so that now text in chat can be set to do something when hovered over or clicked on, so that's things like opening URLs, opening images, showing tooltips, and showing item tooltips. And we'll kind of get into that as we go through the command block stuff in a moment. When you take a screenshot now, you can actually click it to open the screenshot, which is pretty cool, and you can actually click a name, so I don't know if it'll work in single player or not. Yeah, there you go. So you can actually click someone's name and then type something like so, and you can actually send a private message, but obviously I can't send one to myself. So that's that. And also now, items that are given via the give command will show custom names if applicable in chat, and show the item tooltip when hovered over in chat. And we'll kind of get into that in a moment. So let's get into the improved achievements. So achievements have been improved. Now it's announced in chat when you earn one. You just get a little text message at the bottom and everyone can see it. That can be turned off in the server properties because that could get pretty annoying for people who are on large servers. The achievement screen is now zoomable. Achievements become less visible, and you need to earn some before seeing others. And there's also new achievements for breeding cows, discovering all the biomes, spawning a wither, crafting a beacon, and throwing diamonds at either a player or a mob, in our case a zombie. So achievements are also now stored on a per world basis, so they will not reset when earned. So before, whenever an update came out, all the achievements would reset. That's no longer the case, so let's take a look. As you can see here, we have a zoomable screen, and you can't see all of them at the moment. For example, all of those that used to be over here, the enchanter and stuff, you can't see that yet because we haven't done enough. So you can kind of just see over there, we've got all our different achievements. So if I get myself a block of wood, there we go, and I toss it on the ground, pick it up. As you can see, I've earned the achievement getting wood, and that will then unlock achievement attack a tree until a block of wood pops out. That's the tooltip there. And now if we go into achievements, you will see that it's now paved the way to do the benchmarking one. Pretty cool overall, I have to say. I quite like that change. It means that achievements are kind of useful now, whereas they weren't so much before. So on top of that, we have improved F3 mode, and the shader is displayed, and also they've changed the F3B graphics, and also, as always, the language files have been updated. I just wanted to get that out there quickly. Just going to set the time today, and I will now show you the F3 screen. So we've obviously got this F3 screen. Now if you push F3 and B, that will show hitboxes of mobs. Before it was sort of a different type of box to this, but now you can see hitboxes on mobs and items and everything like that. So now then, this super secret settings button, this kind of ties in with the F3 screen. Now this is basic shader support. So here, if we just randomly push the button, you can see that we have a shader applied now. This one is bumpy.json. Eventually, I believe that more shader support will be added. It's just at the moment, it was an early test to see if it would work, and hopefully in future updates we will actually see full shader support implemented. So that's what that is. You can push F4 to completely get rid of all the shaders and just get back to the regular old game. So that's that. Let's move on. So they've also reworked the stats system, which now ties in with the scoreboard, and certain things can be used for objectives, and we'll kind of get to that in a little bit when we look at command blocks and stuff. There is new stats for distances by horse, junk and treasure fished. We'll get to fishing a little later. So let's take a look at the statistics screen. You'll see that we have all sorts of different ones here. Blocks and items and eventually mobs, but I haven't killed anything in this world. So statistics have been slightly changed, and they are also saved on a per world basis now as well. So statistics will actually be accurate from this update. So how many mobs you've killed and so on and so forth will now be accurate, which is always good. So moving on from that, we have, let's see here, the new commands. Yes, there's been a bunch of new commands added. The first one is a set idle timeout command for kicking idle players after a period of time. So on a server, if you have players who are always going AFK, you can set it to be, if it's longer than 5 minutes, they get auto-kicked. There is also a new set world spawn command for setting the world's default spawn point. So if I go set world spawn, it will set my world spawn point to where I'm stood. Pretty handy command there. There is also the achievement command, which you can use to award players achievements, increase stat scores, or give them all the achievements at once. So if we, you see here we've got achievement, and then you can obviously use tab, give, and then there's all these different stats, literally. You can break all the different items in the game, give them different achievements, and this all ties into the scoreboard system, so you can actually set it up so that how many iron pickaxes a player uses or how many dirt blocks that they break. So this is really, really useful for map makers. Very, very cool, and I'm impressed with it, I have to say. So that's that. I'm not going to get too much into that because it's more of a map making feature, but I did want you to know that it is there. So moving on from that, we have the summon command, and this is to spawn entities with custom data. I have a couple of these set up, so if we just do a summon and then a creeper, it will summon a creeper at the command block, as you can see. This one will summon a zombie pigman in the air. We can specify location. You see him fall. There we are. Now I've got a minecart, which is riding a bat, so you can actually make entities ride each other, as you can see. And you can get in the minecart and have a little fly around if you wish. And I believe I've got one more set up. Maybe. No, I don't. Okay, so that's the summon command. You can take it a lot further than that. You can stack entities. You can do so much with the summon command. I believe you can summon falling sand entities and stuff like that as well. But as I say, I'm not going to get too in depth for that because otherwise this video will be 3 hours long. And you guys don't want to see that. So we're going to move on from that. But that's how the summon command works. There is now a set block command to place blocks and also blocks with custom data. And what I mean by that is you can actually now specify things like chests with certain items, and pushing this command block would spawn that item. So I've just set it up to spawn stone up in the air there. This one is a test for block, so this will test for an air block up here, and if it's successful then it outputs to a comparator. So obviously it's successful at the moment, but if I change that and put a piece of wood there, then it's no longer true because there's a piece of wood there. So pretty handy all around. There is also a tell raw command, and this is one I just pulled from the internet, and what this does is you can actually set up certain things with this one. So let's actually go and take a look in the book. So tell raw to send chat messages with custom functionality to players. The sender will not appear. So you can actually embed commands or link to web pages and things with this. So it's pretty cool, I have to say. As you can see here, I've just got this one that I pulled off the internet, and you can just click that and it sets the time back to day. So pretty cool all around with that. So on top of that, we also have give can now give items with custom data. So we've got this one here. It's got display name snow. So this is going to give us a block of stone named snow, as you can see. And you'll see there, snow is actually written in the tooltip from the give command that we were talking about a little bit ago. So you may be also noticing that instead of using the actual item name, it's now Minecraft Stone. I mean the ID. It's now actually Minecraft Stone. That's because IDs are going to be phased out, I think, in the next version. So now it's always going to be Minecraft and then whatever it is. For example, Minecraft Snowball, Minecraft Cow, or something like that. So all different blocks and items are now referred to with that Minecraft and then colon and whatever it is. that you want to spawn. So that's just something to note. There are tools available online if you have custom maps which you need to convert all those command blocks with to keep functionality. I would suggest doing that. So now time set day sets the time to 1000 instead of 0, so just a fairly bog standard change. Blocks and items are now referred to with grouped names instead of IDs, as I've just explained. This is preparing for an ID phase out, probably in the next version. And some technical blocks can no longer exist in inventories, such as block 36. And now, if you don't know what that is, don't worry. But it's basically when the piston moves a block, it's the placeholder block in between the piston moving it. So they've kind of got rid of those quirky little blocks now. They still exist in the game, but you just can't get them anymore. So moving on, we are going to be taking a look now at something that's probably a lot more interesting for a lot more players, and that is the improved fishing. And this is probably one of my most favourite changes, I actually have to say. So fishing has been heavily tweaked since the last version because, let's face it, it was pretty boring. So now fishing, it still works in the same way, in the sense that you can fish like you would normally. But as you can see down there, there is particle effects. The fish splash around, and you will also see that when I am about to catch a fish, you will see the particles swim towards the line before it bites. We've just got to wait for a little minute before that happens. It's kind of difficult to see from this far away, but that does happen if you are fishing up close. You'll probably see that more often. But yeah, there's that. So a couple of new particle effects, pretty happy with that. Whoops. And there's also been a bunch of new fish added. So we have pufferfish, raw salmon and clownfish now on top of the regular fish that you can potentially catch as fish. So on top of that, there is also treasure and junk that you can now fish. So potentially when fishing, you may not get a fish. You may get an item from the treasure pile of loot or an item from the junk pile of loot. And junk is things like sticks, leather, lily pads and stuff like that. And treasure is name tags, saddles, enchanted bows, enchanted fishing rods. Junk as well is things like leather boots and broken fishing rods and things like that. So there we go. Caught myself a fish. You've seen the particle effects down there. Might be kind of hard to see in the video. So on top of all of that, there is also some new enchantments for fishing rods only. And that is Lure and Look of the Sea. Now, Look of the Sea will increase the chance of you catching an item from the treasure pile instead of junk or fish. Now, the Lure enchantment will increase the speed of which the fish are caught, or whatever the item happens to be. So, both of these I don't think can be on the same fishing rod, but you kind of have to pick either or, although you can fish them. So that's maybe something to look into. Potentially building an AFK fish farm may be quite useful now, aside from just earning server achievements or whatever. So that's kind of fishing in a nutshell, really. As I say, there are three new fish: pufferfish, raw salmon, and clownfish. Can now fish out treasure and junk, lots of potential goodies, new particle effects, and fishing rods can now be enchanted with those two different enchantments. And that is obviously Lure, and it can be a level 1 to 3, or Look of the Sea, which could also be 1 to 3. So now there's been some enchanting improvements. Unbreaking can now appear on any item without the use of an anvil. So for example, you can get Unbreaking on armor or swords or bows. And enchanted books can now receive multiple enchantments at once. And I did do a test of this just to verify that this was true. So if we go over to the enchantment table station I've got over here, as you can see I did some books. This was not combined. The enchantments don't have to follow any sort of order. But you can get multiple enchantments on them now. And you can also get Unbreaking on, as I say, things like armor. That didn't really turn out all that good. Efficiency 4. I do want to kind of prove it if I can. Protection 4. That's a pretty nice book. There we go. Look, Lure 2, Efficiency 4. And if I get myself a diamond chestplate, we can enchant that. And as you can see there, Unbreaking 3. That's a pretty nice chestplate. So that's the enchantment changes. Moving on from that, let's get back to where we were in the book. So now music is paused when you actually pause the game, and then it comes back when you get back. The block bounding box is now completely black. It was not before. That's just a very small tweak. And depending, now we're getting into sort of the biome stuff now. Depending on the biome temperature and elevation, it will snow on higher places now. Grass color also changes with elevation. These are kind of little minor tweaks. Exiting the world or the server right after a death will now trigger a confirmation prompt to ask you if you really want to leave. When landing after large falls, players and mobs now produce particles. So if we fly up in the air and I take a huge tumble, as you can see the particles fly out from my feet. That's pretty handy. Pretty cool, I have to say. So moving on from that, the creative mode decoration tab icon has been changed to a peony. And now let's get into nether portals. So nether portals were rewritten, so now you can have multiple sizes and shapes. Well, they have to be rectangular or square. That's the kind of the rule. So it can be anything from a 4x5, which is the normal portal, to a 23x23. As you can see, I've got some different sized portals set up here. So that's pretty cool. They work in exactly the same way as I taught in my tutorial world. It's just that you can have different shapes of them now, which is pretty handy, I have to say. It can be really useful for building now. You can have a bit more customization with portals. So now transparency works correctly, and this was one of the most heavily requested things for a long time. So if you look through a portal in 1.6, you will actually see that water doesn't show up, neither does ice, but it does now. You can see multiple portals through each other. As you can see, I've got ice through a portal there, and also ice you can see through water now. You can see the bottom half of the ice, and same now I'm in the water. And this actually allowed for one major feature, and it's right over there. It's stained glass. We're going to talk about that in a moment. So transparency has now been fixed. It was a well overdue bug fix, which I'm pretty happy with. Very significant change. They rewrote a lot of how that stuff worked to get stained glass in the game. So I'm not going to get too much into that, but that has been fixed. So where were we? There we are. So sky now darkens while under overhangs trees and inside. This potentially might be a bug. It's listed as a bug on the bug tracker, but for the moment I'm classifying it as intended. And lots of bug fixes. There is always bug fixes in every version, and this version is no different. There has been plenty. So now we get on to the real meat of this update, and that is the biome part of it. So there's been a lot of world generation changes, and there is a new amplified world type which generates higher vertically stretched terrain, and that requires a beefy computer. And I actually have an example set up. So if we jump back here and actually go into the amplified world, you will see that this is what an amplified world looks like. It is a vertically stretched set of terrain. This is just a random world that I created just for the purposes of this video. Lots of overhangs. Very cool. You could make a series out of this maybe, or just try and do it for a challenge. So this will generate to world height. You will find that lots of areas for mobs to spawn. So it's a real challenge, but still a cool challenge nonetheless. So that is the amplified world type. Just wanted to kind of get that in there. So we'll go back to the main world here. And we will talk now about the sort of general changes that have been made to the world generation. So now, world generation is higher than it used to be. Before it was 128, but they've kind of extended that now. Some biomes will go to world height, but others generally are around maybe 150 or so. Oceans are much smaller and deeper than they used to be. Before, you could find that oceans sort of extended tens of thousands of blocks. Now you're probably looking at 3,000 blocks tops, so nice smaller oceans for people, but still big enough to the point where they feel like oceans. Now most biomes have various special variants with varying rarity. I'm going to link down below a wiki page which will bring up all the potential biomes, because there is just so many to go through, so I haven't really got time to do that. I'm trying to keep things moving fairly quickly, as you can imagine. So biomes will now usually not generate next to other biomes which don't make sense, so i.e. desert next to snow. And the way that's done is that biomes have been sorted into 4 categories. They are snow, cold, medium, and dry/warm. So for example, snow biomes would be tundra and the cold taiga biome. Cold would be things like mountainous biomes and things like that. Medium would be plains, forests, snowless taiga, that kind of thing. And then dry and warm would be savanna, mesa, desert, and those biomes. So there's been a lot of new biomes added or improved. Some biomes now generate with plateaus and steeper areas and more. Villages now generate in the new savanna biome. As far as minor changes are concerned, there are desert village wells are now made of cobblestone and gravel. Jungles now generate with melon blocks. Extreme hills generate with trees, sort of pine trees now. Bonus chests contain the new acacia log. Normal taiga biomes are now snowless, which is, if you remember back in the 1.0 update, all the taiga biomes didn't have any snow. They are the default ones again, and the cold taiga biome is the one containing the snow, and they typically appear in tundra biomes. So I actually am a big fan of that change. The one biome I did want to see returned was the snowless taiga. I really liked that biome. So now any new tigers you run into, unless it's in a snow biome, the chances are it's going to be a snowless taiga. So they've also reconstructed buggy oak trees to counteract FPS issues with leaf decay. So you will notice that we actually have a forest nearby. You won't see any of those huge trees anymore. They were taken out of the game to reduce on FPS. However, you can still bone meal them. At least that's the information I've been told. So, man, I really wish it would save your page in the book. That's kind of a pain. So, we've gone through all of that stuff, and here we are. So, a bunch of new biomes have been added. The Mesa, Savanna, Mega Taiga, Roofed Forest, Birch Forest, Ice Plain Spikes, and even more special variants. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link as I say, the wiki page down below, so you can check these out. Or equally, you can just go out there and explore for yourself. That's kind of one of the reasons I'm not going to go to all these biomes. I'm going to let you explore for yourself. I have to say, though, my favourites are probably the Mesa and the Mega Taiga. So there you go. So now let's move on to the new blocks and items. So there is a new type of ice, and that is called packed ice. It is found only in the Ice Plain Spike biome, which only generates in ice plains, so that's the tundra. It can be obtained using silk touch only. It's a solid block and it doesn't melt no matter how much light is placed around it, and it can be slid on just like regular ice. So let's take a look at the packed ice. I've got some sort of setup down here. So here we go. There's packed ice. Looks a bit like ice, but it's an opaque block rather than it being transparent. Still slidable and all that good stuff. So moving on from that, we have, man, this is going to get worse the longer the video goes on. There we go. Sugarcane has a tweaked texture and now changes color depending on biome. So I don't know if we've actually got any sugarcane. There we go. As you can see, that's received a slight texture change, and it also changes color depending on the biome that it's in. So different colours. As you can see in the beach, it's a lot greener than it is over here in the river, for example. So that's pretty cool. Let's get back to page 24. So now there is a new type of dirt, and that is Podzol. It doesn't spread like grass and mycelium, but it can be harvested using silk touch. It can hold mushrooms like mycelium, and it can only be found in the Mega Taiga and the Mega Spruce Taiga biomes. So let's take a look at Podzol. This is Podzol right here, sort of a foresty floor type block. I really like this block, but it can only be obtained using silk touch, and it will not spread to things like dirt or grass or mycelium. So you've got to, if you want to make something with this, you've got to collect enough to do it. You can't just use dirt. So then there is also this no spread dirt. As you can see, I've got some of this set up right here, and this grass will never ever spread to this. This is a special type of dirt which can only be given by the give command. You need to actually use give and then your name, and then you would want to go at Minecraft dirt, and then it would be ID 1 and then 1. Oops. There we are. We forgot the 1 there. It will give you a piece of dirt with the ID 1, and that is the no spread dirt that's used in the Mega Taiga biomes, and it's also a map making feature, so that you can use if you want certain biomes to have parts grass and then parts just dirt. So I'm pretty happy with that change. That's a very useful and handy change, no doubt, for map makers. So yep, we've done that. Okay, so now there's lots of new flowers and grasses in the game. So let's go and take a look at my lovely garden over here. A bunch of new flowers were added, and each of these appear in different biomes. So you're going to have to do a bit of traveling to get them all. Roses were replaced by these new flowers. These are poppies. The dandelion is just the same. And obviously, as you can see over here, we've got a sort of forest with some rose bushes, a peony, oxy daisy generates in the plains area. So you're going to have to do a bit of traveling. I'm not going to give away all their locations. I'm going to leave that up to you to get out there and really find out what you can see. But a bunch of these do generate in a special biome, and that's called the flower forest. So we obviously have all of these plants here. The 1 block tall ones can be put in a flower pot. We have the dandelion, the poppy, the blue orchid, the allium, the azure bleuet, tulips in different colours, the oxy daisy, and the sunflower. So if we quickly go through here, 1 dandelion will give you 1 dandelion yellow dye. This poppy will give you 1 rose red. The blue orchid will give you 1 light blue. The allium will give you 1 magenta. The azure bleuet will give you 1 light grey. The red tulip is 1 red. The orange tulip is 1 orange. The white tulip will give you 1 light grey. The pink tulip will obviously give you pink. The oxy daisy will give you light grey. And the sunflower gives you 2 dandelion yellow dye. Now, you may be wondering why the white tulip, for example, doesn't give you white dye. That's because that's bone meal, and you could use them to infinitely duplicate them, although there is a bug in the game at the moment which you can do that anyway, but that's not intentional. And then we also have these plants, and this is kind of the sunflower as well, the 2 block tall plants. So there is now tall grass, and you can get that in a double high form, and you can do that by just bone mealing normal tall grass around, so you can do that, and it also generates in some biomes like plains. There is also the tall fern, and that generates in taiga biomes now. I believe that you can actually get a regular fern and bone meal that and make it into a large fern. There you go. I'm going to have to set the time today again. There we are. And we also have the, forget what this is called, lilac, rosebush, and peony, and you can get more of these by bone mealing them, as you can see. So you can make some farms out of that or something. And the lilac gives you 2 magenta dye. The the rosebush will give you 2 rose red, and the peony will give you 2 pink. So there's lots of ways now to get more dyes easier than we could before. So there are all the new flowers in the game. As I say, you're just going to have to get out there and find out where they all generate. Sunflowers will only generate in 1 biome though, and that is the sunflower plains. So you're going to have to do a fair bit of traveling to find all this stuff. So let me see here. There we are. Yeah, all flowers and grasses are now offset like tall grass. Different flowers generate in different biomes. Jukeboxes are now twice as loud as they used to be to accommodate the new sound system. Weighted pressure plates now count entities. Light pressure plates add 1 signal strength per entity. Heavy adds 1 signal strength per 10 entities. So I have a little demo here set up of weighted pressure plates. We're going to get some cows. So before they could only be used to count items and they were pretty useless. They now have been changed. So we can actually spawn cows to count different numbers. So if I keep putting cows here, the baby cows will spill out, but as you can see, they slowly increasing on the light pressure plate. As you can see, it goes up a lot faster. So you could use this to kind of count mobs and build fully AFK farms. So for example, when this gets totally full to 15, you could then activate a suffocator or a lava blade or something like that. So pretty cool change to the weighted pressure plates, gives them a lot more use than they used to have. So let me see here. We're getting really into it now. So on top of that, there is stone brick monster eggs now have their variants that were missing before. So before we used to have the stone, the cobblestone, and the stone bricks. They now can go into moss stone, cracked stone, and the chiseled variety. So all of these are silverfish blocks. Those 3 were not there before, but they now are. That was probably a really old change that needed to happen. It was kind of more of a bug fix than anything else, but there we go. So that's that. Let me see here. we are. So command blocks now have a text field. When we actually looked at the command blocks, you would have seen that to show its last run output and whether it was successful or not. And they have removed the 256 character limit for the longer commands. So red sand, which is what we're standing right in front of, is a new block, and that generates in mesa biomes only. It behaves like normal sand in a sense that it still falls. You can plant dead bushes and cactus on it, but it cannot be crafted into sandstone. So there's red sand. Pretty cool. Nice block to build with, maybe. Behaves exactly the same as sand does, as I say. But there it is. So that's that. This must get really annoying for you to hear me keep clicking that. So we are now got signs now support more characters, just a fairly standard change. Glass panes are now rendered as 2 thick pixel boxes. Iron bars and glass panes connect. And stained glass has now been added because of the transparency fixes. That appears in all 16 colours, and also we get stained glass panes. So let's take a look at this. As you can see, iron bars and glass connects. It's rendered as a 2 pixel thick box now, as you can see there, not 2 pixels. And we also have stained glass. This appears in all 16 colours. As you can see, we can see things like portals still through it. And here are the panes. Appear in all 16 colours. To craft the stained glass, you need to pick up a die of your choice and surround it in glass, and you get 8 of whatever stained glass it is. It's exactly like the hardened clay recipe, but just with glass. And to craft the panes, you need to basically do the exact same as you would craft normal glass panes. Just put 6 of your stained glass of choice in the crafting grid, and you will get 16 of your stained glass panes. So that's stained glass in a nutshell. Very, very cool change. Pretty happy with that. So cauldrons now extinguish mobs and players that are on fire. I did demo that. It does work. But I've got to kind of get moving here, so I'm going to miss that one out for this occasion. Wooden logs now have different cap textures. Acacia and dark oak wood has been added. These are 2 new types of wood, along with planks, stairs, and slabs and their respective saplings. So let's take a look at that. As you can see over here, they have a different cap texture now, depending on the type of log that they are. And we also have the acacia, which is this one, and the dark oak. The dark oak generates in a roofed forest biome. The acacia generates in the savanna biome. And I have to say, these look pretty good. I like them. Although I don't particularly like the acacia log, but that's just me. I'm sure people will find a use for it. So you can now get these types of wood through new saplings that are in the game. So there is an acacia sapling. I guess I need to keep the bone meal. And also the dark oak. And we also need to show something off with spruce. So to grow an acacia tree, you just need to pop 1 sapling down, bone meal it, and it will grow into an acacia tree. Pretty cool stuff. There is the dark oak. You need to put this in a 2x2 pattern. So let's just clear a bit of space out right here. And then bone meal that, and you will get one of the roofed oak trees. And also, if you put 2 spruce, 2x2 in spruce saplings, you can get the giant spruce trees that only generate in mega taiga biomes. So I can see a lot of people using spruce as their main wood now, because I think this is a bit bigger than the jungle tree. So pretty cool stuff all around. You can grow those, and there are some nicer ones than that. That's kind of one of the ugly ones. Let's see if we can just have another go and see. Yeah, there we go. That one looks a lot better. I like that one. So you can grow those now as well. So moving on from that, let's get back to where we were in the book once again. So we've done that. Dead bushes can now be placed on hardened and stained clay. Flint and steel can set off creepers, and also has a shapeless crafting recipe now, so you can just put it in whatever combination you want and you can craft flint and steel. Cooked salmon can now be obtained by cooking raw salmon, and it restores 3 hunger points. Clownfish restores half a hunger point. Pufferfish restores half a hunger point but gives 15 seconds of nausea 2, 15 seconds of hunger 3, and 60 seconds of poison 4. And that's just a reference to real world pufferfish, because they can kill you. People have to be trained very, very carefully to actually cook those fish. And water breathing potions can be brewed with pufferfish. That's kind of their main use, really. I have a little brewing stand set up here, and I believe I've got some awkward potions in there. If I pop a puffer fish in there, oops, puffer fish, we can pop that in there, and I'll let those brew while we get on to the next thing. We'll come back to that, because I really do want to get this moving here. We're getting on a little bit. So written books can now be cloned, so they behave exactly like maps. So I've got an example book here. If I get different books and quills that have not been wrote in, so let's just take a look at the example. That's just his example book. If I put that in the crafting grid and actually put some books and quills in there, it will duplicate them. And books also now stack up to 16. So that's a pretty cool change all around, I would say. So let's continue on here. There we are. Maps now support more colours than before. They support things like different wool and clay colours, diamond blocks, that kind of thing. Item frames will now show item names when looking at them. So if you've named an item and then look at it in an item frame, then you will actually see the name of that item. When hitting an item frame, it will drop the item only first, and then when an empty item frame is hit, it will then drop the item frame itself. Maps are now displayed as a full block in an item frame and connect, and they are much less FPS intensive, and they also no longer display player markers. So as you can see, I've got a giant map set up over here just of this area, and you can see what it looks like in relation to item frames. It does still have a little bit of a border, but I prefer the look of where it's kind of surrounded by a block. So there is that. Pretty cool. I really like this change. I can see a lot of people making nice big maps now, compared to what we used to do. So that's almost everything, I think, to be honest. So command block minecart, I've not got that here, and that all that does is it keeps the command running while ever it's on an activator rail. Boats no longer inflict fall damage when running aground. They've slightly improved lily pads breaking on boats. They can be steered using the left and right keys again. So let's just quickly go through that. We'll just jump in this boat here, and you'll see that you can drive it using the left and right keys. I'm pushing those right now, but you have to make sure that W is held down, and obviously you can use S to slow down. So that's the changes as regards boats. They're a lot better than they used to be now. So let's get time set day again. So moving on into the sort of last portion of things that we've got. This is a big update, that's for sure. Baby zombies and baby zombie pigmen can now walk in 1 block tall spaces, but their hitbox remains the size of an adult. Zombies don't cause as much lag as they did in 1.6. That's sort of been fixed. Witches can now spawn naturally along with other mobs like skeletons, creepers and zombies at night time, and they can also rarely drop potions of water breathing. They can also drink potions of water breathing. So if you have a dark room trap that drowns mobs, then that's not going to work the same anymore. Witches are going to stay alive, so you're probably going to need to use a suffocator. So let's take a look at these water breathing potions. As you can see there, they can only be extended with redstone. They can't have increased potency, as it's much like fire resistance. It just gives you an unlimited air meter for that period of time. And honestly, that is it. That is everything in 1.7. That was kind of just a very quick run through. If you want to know more about these features in depth, then I would suggest taking a look at the Minecraft wiki. I will link the 1.7 update page down below, and you can check out more sort of features at your own leisure. And also my tutorial series, we will be going through a lot of this stuff. You know, the new wood, the stained glass, the different new blocks and items, the maps, boats, fishing, all of that sort of stuff we're going to be covering in my tutorial series. So if you want to kind of see it in a video, I would suggest heading over to that series. And that is honestly going to be just about it, guys. I've been going for a good while now. I've gone through pretty much everything that I can think of with the 1.7 patch. I hope that you enjoy 1.7. As far as snapshots and updates go, I will be doing any videos I will be doing for example, if there is a 1.7.3, but from 1.8 development onwards, I will no longer be doing snapshot videos. The reason for that is I really just want to kind of explore on my own and not look at changelogs too much, because I kind of missed out on a lot of the magic in this update by just reading the changelogs all the time and seeing all the different things and learning how they all worked. I didn't really get to enjoy that as much as I would have liked. So snapshots will be coming to an end on this series, and possibly the whole update videos will also come to an end too. So I thank you for watching this video, guys. I hope that you've enjoyed and I hope that you found it useful. It's been rather long-winded and I've tried to condense it as much as I can, but I hope that you've got the information from it nonetheless. So I think that that's going to be just about it, and I will see you later and have a good day.